Two modern greats retire after causing their opponents countless peril. 6 premierships, 9 All-Australians, 3 Norm Smiths, a Coleman and a Brownlow medal. Dusty bows out after 302 games, arguably the greatest Tiger of all time, while the Tomahawk is just 4 goals shy of 800 after ageing like a fine wine. We'll miss Dusty's sublime skill, goal sense and of course that fend-off, while the Big Cat will be hoping for another flag as the ultimate send-off. To dissect already a huge week in footy, this is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub with a prize recruit ready to make his debut for Castlemaine this weekend, Joey Montagna.
Hello, Rabsy. Yeah, can't wait to put on the Magpies jumper again like I did as a kid, the Castlemaine Magpies, and play on Saturday afternoon.
Do you hate the Castlemaine Magpies as much as you hate the Collingwood Magpies? We've all seen the footage from Saturday night, mate. It's all good. The dominant force of Melbourne Breakfast Radio, Daisy Thomas.
And what is it with you and Collingwood?
Yeah.
Why do you hate that? Like,
Yeah, I know.
we need to move on.
Don't know. Wonder what my facial
Still
expressions
salty,
are.
aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I can't get over 2010.
The good news is, if anyone watches you call any other game when you just sit there and watch.
Yeah, what are you meant to do?
I think the Pies fans want you to cheer for them.
No, the Cats fans reckons he's salty from 09 as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, now the Hawks fans think I'm salty from losing a prelim to them in 08. And the Swans beat us in 04.
They do.
And a man who doesn't know himself at the moment after 2 Sundays off in a row, Damien Barrett.
And a couple of Wednesdays as well,
Yes.
Rabsy. So, the Olympics is consuming our worlds, isn't it? And it's what a great Olympics it has been too, not just from an Australian perspective. I love the Olympics every time it comes around, but I reckon it's been a really good one of the greats.
Have we been this top 3 at the minute? Have we been up this high, this deep into an Olympics before? Because it feels like we're pinching gold from everywhere. Little skater chick got it done.
Sydney, we were high,
Not
weren't we?
Avril
Like,
Lavigne.
Sydney was
but we dropped away
massive.
in recently Olympics.
No,
I think.
I reckon we probably are, Days. I haven't looked at it from that perspective, but I think you're right. And what is any danger the man can do something?
Yeah, well, this is good.
Good point.
I mean, there's been the tennis doubles results. So even one of the gold medals was split 2 ways. And obviously Cam McAvoy had the 50 metres. But come on, men.
Yeah, need a lift.
Rabsy touched it off the top. You are putting the boots on this weekend.
Yes, I
How
am.
are you feeling? Because there was an 8-week training block that was condensed to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Now we're here.
Got 1 week in, so I'm feeling good. Went and trained with them last night. I went down to Castlemaine, met the boys, met the coach, had a bit of a run around, a kick. It was a beautiful night
Yeah, it
for
would be,
training. I think
okay.
it's going to be a beautiful day, so that's a start, Daisy. I don't do my best work in the rain and the mud, so I think we should be okay. But looking forward to it. Hope the team have a win. They're pretty confident they can beat Kangaroo Flat.
Oh, Jesus,
So
don't
that's
say
the
that.
main.
Don't say that sort of stuff. The,
you're meant to
the
be-
Kangaroo Flat blokes will be listening to this and go, did you hear what Montagna said? Let's go and knock his head off.
Yes, no. I'm hoping it's a nice, fun day and the
An
kids will
hour
enjoy
and
it.
26 to Castlemaine.
Yeah, that's all right. Some people spend an hour and 20 in the traffic every day to get to and from work. So I thought I can do it for one Tuesday night, and it was good fun.
So
Are you
you've had
sore?
one hit out, basically.
Yeah, one hit
After all
out.
that.
Kick,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you
Still
sore
got
today?
Still got a Damo riding the bike.
Are you sore, though?
No, actually, no. I pulled up okay.
Wow.
So yeah, kicking the footies, I haven't pulled up sore, so we should be okay. The fitness, yeah, I might only have about 10 minutes in me, but it better be a good 10 minutes.
They've won the last 2 games, haven't they?
They've won. Yeah, they've been in good form.
You
They're
worried
back
about
after the-
selection? Are you going on
I
Thursday
did meet.
night?
They introduced me to the reserves coach straight up, and I was like, "Is there a reason why you introduced me to the reserves coach?" But I've teed up a long sleeve jumper.
Good.
I think we're going to start in the forward line, Daisy.
Number
Just
11?
quietly keep it between us. I think
Yeah.
I'm playing forward.
Good winking there. Castlemaine, halfback flank for sure.
No, not number 11. I think they're giving me a number in the 40s or 50s. They're giving me a
Well,
bloke.
it's heavy.
Well, what about the coach of Castlemaine? So when he said, I think we're going to play 40, he said it comes at a good time because there's a bloke that's a similar size and shape to you who's just gone overseas, so you can replace him. And I thought, similar size and shape? What is he?
Well, bear in the
is
square.
it either a 6 foot ripped bloke or a 5'10" little short stubby bloke? So I'm not sure, but I think I'll replace him in the forward line.
Tony Mockbell.
Anyway.
Well, good luck on
Thank
Saturday,
you.
mate. I'm sure we hear all about it on the Sunday Rub
If I
as
make
well.
it Sunday, Rub.
Yes, a massive round 22 kicking off with Sydney and Collingwood. We'll get your predictions later on, fair dinkum or Fugazi as well. But up next, Damo, your news. And of course, we have to start with the 2 big retirements from yesterday, Dustin Martin and Tom Hawkins. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Sydney and Collingwood kick off a huge round 22. Your match predictions still to come, but Damo, it is time for some news. We have to start with the retirements of Dustin Martin and Tom Hawkins.
And publicly, Rabsy, as we learnt yesterday, Tuesday of this week, that the announcements came publicly about an hour apart. So we got 2 guys who will be first ballot Hall of Fame players. I think there's no doubt that Dusty will be a Hall of Fame legend down the track. That's for the future. The now is that he has retired immediately. I don't feel the narrative will change too much. I still feel that until we come and go with the trade period. The possibilities around Gold Coast are going to be there. It's not a massive percentage in my eyes right now, but until that period comes and goes, we won't know. And Tom Hawkins has got a situation where he wants to return from this serious foot injury he's got, and you then need to weigh that up with where the team will be at that time. And then equally, is he the right person to bring back at this time of this season, given, and it's unfortunate for Tom, but they have worked better in the forward line without him, Joey.
Yeah, the Geelong discussion is going to be fascinating because there is, on one hand, you want to give Tom Hawkins the opportunity to play again and a farewell game and all those things, but Geelong are trying to win a premiership. So that is going to be some tough calls.
They do have West Coast in the last game of the year.
Yes.
So if he's not going in good enough form to be up and about to play or not in the plans to go into finals, I think that's a nice opportunity where you probably win regardless and you could just put him in a full forward, send off, kick 10. Happy days.
I think there's that. I tend to agree with that. I think there'll be an element of he might not be 100%, but they'll get him out there for that game. Right. Have an agreement that, look, this is your farewell game, but we're probably going to go past you for the finals for the sake of the way the team's structured and what we need is probably my gut feel.
What if they need to win that to lock away a top 4 spot if that's not in advance? Do you factor all that in?
You do, and I still think you back yourself in against West Coast at home so you can carry Tom Hawkins through a farewell game and make it. Because that's what that club does very well. Geelong are the best at celebrating their champions, and the way they do it, I think they'll do it in the right way. Yeah.
Again, they're not going to be engaging in this type of conversation. No, and I would imagine if they are going to play him, I feel that if they are going to play him, they will be using that moment to then propel them further. Now, whether that works that way or not, I don't know. But it's interesting to hear you two say, who've played the game and are now sort of endorsing the possibility of a specific farewell game going into a finals without him.
It just makes sense to me. Yeah, unless he is absolutely flying and then he's going to continue to try and be up for finals and it may just be in case of emergency break glass, but I don't see it being like that.
Yeah, Dusty had clearly waned in his desire to keep playing the game of footy this year. He got himself up for the 300th and celebrated that moment post-match, played the week after, then had a few weeks off, came back, and then after the weekend just gone, has decided to call it quits. That part of it's not a surprise. Does anyone now, and we've just talked about this regularly, and as I said, we will continue to talk about it in a small way, but is there any chance in your eyes that he may still be playing football next year for Gold Coast?
No. I never thought he would play for the Gold on record. So I didn't think he would ever play for another club. I don't believe it. I know people are still going to.
You've been saying that all year. I'll give you that.
And people are still going to bang on about going up to the Gold Coast. I've got no doubt he'll go overseas and spend some time away. But yeah, I think he's done the right thing. And no doubt, even up until the last few weeks, I don't think he had made his mind up. I know there was some talk. He would know what he's doing right now. My understanding is he didn't. And Daisy and I spoke about this a few weeks ago. The wrestle of actually making the decision is very, very hard. And I thought a little bit of the commentary was unfair, that it was a bit of a circus and what he was doing when he's wrestling with his mortality as a footballer and what his future's going to look like. He needed all the time that he could. And if that meant going to New Zealand for a few days, if that meant, taking a couple of days away from the club, he had to make the right call. And I just hope now he's at peace with his decision and can live with it because it is a tough time for any footballer, let alone someone like him, who is going to go down as a legend of the game.
It's a great point because it is. It's the end of a journey you've put your entire life towards. And there's no doubt, I think, in any of our minds that he's good enough to play on. If he wanted to play on, he would be good enough to do so. It's whether or not...
Is he though nowadays on what we've seen this year?
Yeah, I still believe so. Yeah. If he was fit, we know that he's had some injuries and niggles along the way, but you weigh up all these things and it probably has taken to this point in time for him to go, you know what, do I really love it? Can I be asked with the preseason, everything, the circus around it again next year?
Said no.
Probably not.
And the 2-19 scoreline that his club has currently got is part of that considerations, I'd imagine. Sydney Swans only 3 weeks ago played in what I felt was the best game of home and away football this season. It was against Brisbane Lions. They lost the game by 2 points. They lost Rampy, Papley, and Hayward was injured during it. Up until that point, they'd lost 4 matches by a total of 10 points. Since then, they've been belted by the Western Bulldogs and then smashed and humiliated by Port Adelaide just gone. How can you fall away so drastically? And is there any chance that they can still retrieve this season? They do sit top of ladder going into round 22.
The first point, to answer your question about how they fall away so dramatically, I think it has been it's been a gradual decline. So this has been over 6 weeks, and I think the close losses masked a bit more of some of their football that was dropping away. And then it got to the point where maybe they didn't really address it as much as they needed to, and it got to the point where now they've been smacked in the face, and now they've got a reality check. Can they come back? Well, every other year I would say no, but this year has been so weird. Like Port Adelaide were done, the Western Bulldogs were done, Brisbane were done. You can keep rolling. Geelong were done midway through the year. So it is the 1 year where you go, well, you can't absolutely write them off. And probably because, Daisy, they're going to finish first or second still.
they've done
they're
the
still
work.
going to be getting a home final, still maybe even going to get a home prelim, depending on how that first final goes, or in a prelim if they win the second week at home. So, of course, they've got to be in it. But they're going to have to defy history to come back from getting bolted by 100 points to win a premiership.
Yeah, I was concerned, obviously, after the Bulldogs loss, really concerned on the weekend, but then started to think, you hear Horse say they gave him a couple of days off to refresh mentally and physically. There's no doubt by this point in the season, there has been a toll taken, probably more mentally than physically for a lot of the players. So to get to here, you've got 3 games left, 3 of them certainly winnable, the games run into finals. I think they can certainly turn it around. I'm not as worried as others because of that point. They play the Pies up at the SCG, Bombers down here, and then the Crows at the SCG as well. There's solid enough teams that you can put some good performances out, and you're going to have to be close to your best to win, but you can certainly try and tinker a few things, I believe, along the way with that type of opponent.
A couple of big-name forwards, key forwards, with big reputations at the latter stages of their careers in Tex Walker and Tom Lynch. I raised them here today. A couple of teams need full forwards and key forwards going into 2025. Melbourne Footy Club, I think, is Exhibit A on that space. Collingwood Footy Club will be interested in what maybe is available in that space.
Yep.
Do we see a possibility where both those guys may be playing at other clubs next year? Tex Walker is out of contract as an Adelaide Crow. He's 35 years of age. Tom Lynch has 1 year to run of that 7-year deal he signed, Days.
Heavily back-ended, though,
Heavily
is it not?
back-ended. It's a $1.5 million, all thereabouts.
So what would the club have to pick up on the way through?
They'd have to smooth the deal out, add at least 1 year, maybe 2 to the offer, and absorb that money some way. And whether Richmond would want to in its situation too, because it's got decisions to make over clearly Shea Bolton and also potentially Daniel Rioli. That's in control of Richmond. They are contracted players, those two. Liam Baker may also be exiting.
For me, both of those scenarios sound unlikely. The first one with Tom Lynch is Richmond would only give him away if they got something back in return. Would that be fair? A reasonable draft pick?
A draft pick would have to be part of it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can't see a club wanting to pay. I would think a club would only take Tom Lynch or Tex Walker if they got them for minimum chips and got them almost as a freebie to have a little free hit at the stumps at their age where they're at. I can't see a club either paying big salaries or giving up draft capital for players of that ilk at their age.
Yeah, see it the same.
Fair call. And look, this has been a Craig Hutchison-driven agenda, I think, as much as anyone. He's been banging on about this for, I reckon, at least a dozen years, and he's got it through from what we believe. The 2025 season will have a wild card round. I'm against it totally. I feel 23 matches over 25 weeks isn't enough to sort out the ladder, but others see some merit in a 7v10 and 8v9 type of weekend. After the completion of the home and away season. It will come in next year. How it looks, where it's going to be played is also yet to be determined, but it's in.
Love it.
So,
I really like it.
7v10?
Yeah, 8v9.
Which would be
Well,
the
again,
Western
that's one
Bulldogs
of the
taking on the
potential models.
Hawks and Carlton taking on Essendon.
Amazing.
Imagine the Carlton-Essendon game for a spot in the finals.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'd fill the MCG. There'd be 100,000 comfortably. I think for that theatre alone, it's a big yes.
I really like it, Damo, and I think it works against. I know you were saying it sometimes it's rewarding.
Well, you've got a Carlton v Hawthorn match this weekend, Days, to that point. I mean, amongst the mix there. I mean, it's part of the home and away season.
So more of those games are better.
Damo.
More of them are better.
Evolve.
And it's not accepting mediocrity. I look at it the other way. I look at it's now a top six. Your aim is to, as a club, is to make the top six. You're fixed in the six, and you get rewarded for top two. You get rewarded for top four. You get rewarded for top six. And then the other teams are scrambling for 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then sudden death and away we go. They're going to be great. Love it.
No, I'm with you, Damo.
Mate, your Pies are in 11th, or our Pies are in 11th. They could win one more game and get the chance. Otherwise, it's curtains.
Yeah, but what team's going to win a flag from one of those wild card positions?
No, probably not, but it's good theatre.
But that's the whole point. Teams don't win it anyway from 7th and 8th. So you might as well make it exciting to get in there and give yourself a chance. And
then they get belted in the first week.
That's right.
I'll tell you what's good theatre. Fair dinkum or Fugazi.
yeah.
And that's coming up next on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Lee Castlemaine, Montagna. We're not giving Port Adelaide enough credit for their resurgence.
I've tried. That
was nearly like pre-singing warm-up.
No, I think we've tried. The story out of the game was Sydney. So I'm going to say that is Fugazi because Port Adelaide have won 5 of their last 6. They are making a run, and in this crazy, crazy year, why not Port Adelaide?
Do you think the supporters who were booing Kenny 6 weeks ago are still fronting up?
They probably needed an apology.
Yes, they do, but they were voicing their frustrations at the time. Now they've turned it around.
Pathetic.
Is it really? Is
I
it?
reckon it's pathetic, yeah. They don't deserve to be attending matches these days. In my
The
take on
fans
that.
who go on the emotional roller coaster,
Fans who boo
bring
their own
negativity,
coach do not deserve to celebrate what may lie ahead.
Just expressing their frustration.
No, that was very nastily personal against Kenny.
a bit like your
Yeah, it
views
was
to
very
North
nasty.
Melbourne.
I don't go personal. I may have views on where they're going,
brush.
but I don't think I've been personal.
No, you
have I?
haven't.
No.
That was a piss take, sorry.
That's right.
Well, speaking of North Melbourne, Damien,
Yes.
Tristan Cherry should be in the All-Australian ruckman selection.
He's closing hard, isn't he?
Yep.
He really is closing hard. I've still got Maxi Gawn in front. I thought it was really good for Maxi for the best part of 15, 16 weeks. I know he's fallen away. I know he's been injured, but he is mounting the case, Tristan. I felt Tom de Koning at certain phases of the season was also too, and I've got a soft spot for Oscar McInerney, who's playing for a team that is now officially the favourite. So if there is to be a change from Maxi Gawn, I'd go Oscar and then Tristan.
Another name that should be in that discussion is from the Collingwood Football Club in Darcy Cameron.
He's been excellent, absolutely. Rowan Marshall's around the mark.
Yeah.
Brody Grundy was in the conversation.
For a
He was
while,
almost
he
a
was.
lock in there as well.
Yeah.
So I think to your point, this is the most open race that we've probably had since Max Gawn's dominated it for about 7 years. But since then, it's been a long time since we've had 5 or 6 rucks that genuinely have a case.
Daisy, Toby Green is hitting form at the right time.
Fair dinkum, that is. His season so far has been okay and probably more leadership driven, playing a selfless role, but him hitting the scoreboard looking so dangerous alongside that little skeeter fleet they've got down there. Brent Daniels on the weekend, that last quarter, unbelievable. So if you're Giants fans, you want your best players playing their best form this time of year and hitting that. And Toby Green is certainly there.
Well, speaking of Brent Daniels, him going to the midfield in the fourth quarter was the move of the year, Daisy.
Move of the year is Fugazi. Rory lobbed to halfback, probably has that spot covered, but it was a match-winning move, I'll give you that.
Joey Montagna, Brisbane's force changes due to injuries have made them a more well-rounded side.
Yeah, that's Fugazi. Sorry, that is fair dinkum. Apologies. I think that absolutely has. I think Dane Zorko is in All-Australian calculations, taking over from Coleman. The forward lines looked a bit more dynamic.
Kai Lohman, what a story.
Isn't it? Who's that?
Kai Lohman.
Yeah, Kai Lohman.
in the
been a
forward
great-
line.
Yeah,
Cam
absolutely.
Rayner as well. He
Yep.
looks like he's finally back to his best, or at least hitting his best.
Yep.
Damo, highly touted assistants turning down the coaching gig must alarm West Coast.
Yeah, I'm taking a fair dinkum view on that. I also take the view that some of those high touted assistants, Dean Cox being one of them, Josh Carr another, if Don Pike was to ring those guys and offer them the job and not just the right to be part of a process, I'm sure it would be more appealing to them. But they're making decisions based on their bigger pictures, which is negative right now for West Coast because it has diminished the available talent.
Are those bigger pictures succession plans?
They could well be. I mean, both those guys in question are at clubs, well established at clubs, and have the view that they want to coach those clubs, particularly Carr, in a more pressing sense. But yeah, could be the reason.
Daisy, if you were a highly touted assistant coach, would you take this West Coast Eagles job, or would you sit and wait and maybe another 2-3 years there'll be maybe some more movement and wait for a better opportunity?
I'd take the job, 100%. If you think you're ready to coach an AFL side, I don't think you should be thinking and trying to wade through the very best option. If the best option is the job you've been given in front of you, and you back yourself to be a good coach, I think there would be a great deal of confidence you would give the football club in hiring you, and you can turn it around. I think there's a real case to be mounted for that.
I'm with you on that, Dace. Yeah, I feel that the agenda's changed a bit on that space, Joey, and that individuals are looking at the potential for failure as opposed to what Daisy's promoting hard, the old-fashioned, get in there, have a crack, you never know how it can look.
Joey, Adam Chalor must be in the All-Australian team.
That's a good question. Must. That's stacked, the midfield. It is stacked. So I'm going to say Fugazi. It's not must. He's absolutely right in the mix, and he might even make the team, and I hope he does because he's never been All-Australian, but he deserves one there. But it's tough for these selectors to break down about 9 or 10 different midfielders that all deserve to be in there.
Damo, this is Gold Coast's most disappointing season.
Oh, that's a great question.
Fair income.
No,
well, they've never got... Okay, on this context, they'd never gone into a season with a premiership coach on their books telling us, the entire world, that the floor was finals and that there was no ceiling. And you get to round 21 and they've had 9 wins, which is not yet equal to their 2 best seasons, which is 10 wins. So, yes, fair dinkum.
I like it, Damo.
Very disappointing.
No way. Completely disagree. They've shown plenty. They're still
shown?
one of the youngest teams in the competition.
Oh.
They've shown that they are going to be fine. They just need
always
more
next year,
time.
isn't it? Hey, next year it looks good.
The next year's Suns.
Daisy, Mitch McGovern had obviously read the Pendles 400 script.
No, Fugazi. I'd comfortably have Mitch in that position more often than not. The fact that he would be kicking the goal. There were some interesting conversations we had. I think it was on Sunday around him putting his hand through his hair just before he did it, and whether or not then the ball drop was skewed. I can't remember.
It was Nate. That was
Brownie.
Nath Brown's.
Okay, well,
I'll
credit Nate Brown with that.
So what? The gel from their hair might have.
Well, the
affected
opposite.
the ball
He reckons
drop.
the sweat
Yeah,
from
the
the
sweat
hair
from the
made
hair.
his hands slippery, and he didn't understand why he put his hands through his wet hair.
But he's a beautiful kick for goal, whether or not he does.
You know, Brownie.
He's
Damo.
had a interesting couple of weeks, Brownie.
Mitch McGovern probably hasn't been doing the goal kicking he once did when he was a forward, but he's a beautiful kick at the footy. You want to be in those moments. He's somebody that wants to be in those moments, and every now and then, as we've seen, you only have to look back to sort of your Michael Jordans. They miss as many as they make, and unfortunately, that was a loss for the Blues, but also the right script for the Pies.
Joey, with 4 clubs situated west of them, it's time for the Bulldogs to go back to the name Footscray full-time.
No.
So
Fugazi is how, yeah.
Fugazi.
We're not doing
stay
no
in
and
Western
yes.
Bulldogs. Branch out a bit.
That'll be next week. No and yes.
I love the old traditional names for what it's
Same.
worth. Yeah.
Dame, I'm going to play some audio here.
Have you had much to do with Poulter, Das? I like him.
He's been a great recruit coming across from Collingwood and didn't quite get a regular game there, but he's a great runner, great athlete, very popular teammate.
Bit of an influencer, I hear, with his girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend, I think.
Oh, well done, Nate.
Okay.
Another clanger for you tonight.
That won't be beaten all season, Das. He's just a solo influencer now. Oh, no. You've had a shocker tonight, Nate. You've really had a tough night.
Fair dinkum or Fugazi, Chief's right. Brownie needs a spell in the twos.
I've got a soft spot for my man, our man Nath. But
Our man.
Our man. But last Friday night was Sydney Swans-esque against Port Adelaide in what he dished up on the Friday huddle. He spent 10 minutes trying to bring me down, and I don't know where he was going with it. And then I hear and was made aware of this Poulter comment that he made. So, just needs a break. Yeah.
Daisy, Freo's midfielders must not have studied the tapes of Essendon's game against Adelaide a couple of weeks ago.
Fair dinkum. That is the same set play was run. You picked it up first, Joey. It's interesting when you do your scenario work, how much you actually take into consideration what the opposition are going to do. But that was obviously the reason they lost the game. It dictated to, which is probably the frustrating thing if you are a Freo fan and a coach there, because generally you'd like to see them be bold and hold their spot to whatever system they run. They didn't. They truck and trail it around and they got manipulated.
Interesting, because full credit to Essendon, they went for a centre bounce to win, where people are saying, Fremantle should have set up defensively. It's all that's why it was fascinating. When the scores are level, 30 seconds to go, what is a team going to do? So credit to Essendon and said, no, we're going for the glory here, and it came off. So well done.
You are the coaching, the assistant coach, or whatever you do there. Is it? Full assistant. But is it not better to sort of set up a structure where they may win it, but they'll be going away from goal as opposed to flying through like that?
No, I disagree with a lot of the commentary and how they should set up, because Fremantle had their own play and they owned the whole back half of the circle. So if Darcy had won the hit, they would have been able to win it on that side of the circle.
Right.
He didn't win the hit. So that's what it was. It was costly.
There you go.
Some audio for you, Daisy Thomas.
Hey, Pendles, what's one thing at the end of your career you want to hang your hat on? Because we just spoke about the absolute top echelon players in the history of the game and in our era, and I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to play on you once or twice, and I always felt that most of those top-end midfielders sort of play one way, but I was surprised by the two-way running that you used to produce, actually pretty accountable for a player that used to accumulate a fair bit of the ball as well.
It's funny though. I remember when you come into the midfield one day at the start and you shook hands and go, "I'll see you at the end." So I certainly knew that you were only going to go one way.
After 400 games, Scott Pendlebury's sense of humour has gone underrated.
Yeah, well, I'll give you two parts of this. One, Stevie J's been hanging around Jay-Z.
That was a Jay-Z like question.
That's fair income. That would nearly put me to sleep. But, that's fair income as well. Pendles has tried for a rebranding game 400. He had an inside-out left foot check side from the pocket, that for 399 games went to the top of the square, and now he's rolling out a bit of sizzle when having an interview.
You finally rubbed off on him.
Yeah, correct. It
Started
took a
on the
while.
same day.
Yeah, that's it. Took a while, but I got there.
Can you just remind Damo what Jay-Z did when he rocked up to the MCG on Sunday?
He got out 2 posters from the Herald Sun and put them up on the wall. And any time there was a reference to anything, it came back to Pendles. It was beyond awkward and weird by the end. We love Jay and we know that his man is Pendles, but it was real sort of
One of them was even Jay-Z's own double-page spread on Pendles. He stuck it up there and he just
Poor old
admired it all
Scotty
day.
Lucas in the next box couldn't see a thing.
I'm a bit worried about Jay. He does end up in Bernie Vince's nuff every week as well. So.
All right, finally, one more bit of audio for you, Joey Montagna.
Now, it is of my belief, now, look, this is just a feeling, and it's a feeling generated by the Richmond players, I believe, that this is Dusty's last game. There have been no official announcement. Dusty hasn't told anyone. The club don't know. The players don't know. It is a feel that's come from within the players. So much so that there are a couple of players out there playing today that may not, in fact, be playing if they hadn't had that knowledge of being Dusty's last game, and of course they want to be involved.
Fair dinkum or Fugazi, BT has broken more stories than Damien Barrett in the last 10 years.
100%. That is fair dinkum. BT, the biggest newsbreaker in the business, is now his title.
He came
had
in
some good
all guns
mail.
blazing with that, but I just hearing it back, feeling
Clever.
feeling.
Is that how they do it? When you know something,
he's
but you
delivered that well.
Well, the Tigers without Dustin Martin have a game against St Kilda on Sunday. We'll get all your tips for round 22 coming up next on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. And as always, you can hear every single game from round 22 on the Listener app and on Triple M, starting Joe Montagna Friday night at the SCG, Sydney versus Collingwood.
Fascinating, isn't it, this one? All eyes on the Sydney Swans, how they respond. Collingwood starting to get their mojo. You know what I want to...
Do it.
I think I've got to go Sydney because I hate Collingwood so much. No, I think I have to go Sydney, and then Sydney one more chance.
I'm the same in my thinking on this game. I'm not going to abandon the Swans at least until this weekend anyway. So Sydney for me.
I mounted a very good case as to why they can still go deep, but I'm going to tip the Pies. I just want them to play finals.
Yep. Fair.
And it's that sort of season, you may as well use that type of logic.
Huge game to kick off at Saturday, Damo. Up at the Gabba, Brisbane versus the Giants. The Lions are heavy favourites in this game.
Yeah, I was surprised at how heavy they were favourites. I thought it was more closer than what the numbers are suggesting. I'm going to still stick with the favourite, though, regardless of what price they are. I just feel they're on a beautiful little 9-game roll. There's a draw amongst that most recent form as well, which adds to the 9 wins. And I like what GWS has done. They've won 5 in a row, but I just think Brisbane's zoned in on finishing top 2 now and will beat the Giants.
Since the midpoint of the year, the Lions at the Gabba is back to last year's form, where they were, I think they won 11 of their games there, undefeated at the Gabba, so I think they continue now to roll on against the Giants.
Absolutely, keep rolling. Brisbane, confident. That might be even my certainty. Brisbane at the Gabba.
Okay.
Got to stick with you, Damo, because you are a Ruston or North Melbourne fan. Can they get their second win in a row against West Coast in Hobart?
Here they come.
This is going to be personal.
Confident if they were playing at Marvel Stadium. They were fortunate to beat Richmond last week, but did. So tick on that. I'm going to tip them, but no confidence.
Hey.
For a second week in a row.
Yeah.
I'm coming with you. Yeah, I think they can go back to back.
Yeah. Charlie Common's going to be interesting because as we speak, Wednesday morning, he's been sore, and whether they put him on ice for the year, because he's going to become very important to their progress in the future. Mm-hmm. So he's a big one if he plays or not, but I'm going to tip North Melbourne as well. Like where they're going.
It was only against Gold Coast, but West Coast was good last
Friday
night.
They were. Played well.
Fremantle Geelong, huge game on Saturday afternoon, Daisy Thomas.
Yeah, it certainly is, especially after Fremantle gassed it against the Bombers on the weekend. They'll be licking their wounds from that one. No walkover, but Fremantle at home, I'm pretty comfortable they can get the job done.
Stop Cameron, stop Stewart. They should be right to win. Easier said than done, but I think Fremantle at home, if they are the team they think they are, they should get this one.
Yeah, I've got soft spots for both these teams this year, but Dockers for me in this one.
Essendon versus Gold Coast, Joey. The game's at Marvel Stadium, so Essendon win.
How can you tip Gold Coast?
I'm going to.
I want to.
I'm going purely on the logic.
They
have to win.
17 Reds have been spun in a row on the roulette table. Black's going to come up eventually.
Or
That's
double zero.
I'm coming with you. I was going to do Essendon. I'm changing. I'm going. Gold Coast finally win the away game.
Green 000, which would be a draw. But no, Gold Coast.
Essendon.
I'm guessing Gold Coast are both your outsiders
Now,
for this
yep.
round as
Yep,
well.
yep.
Melbourne versus Port Adelaide, Damien Barrett.
Port for me. Melbourne to me has just dropped off. It's manic pressure that it was able to keep it in the race, and now that they can't make finals, I'm just not convinced they're going to have enough motivation to be able to withstand what Port will, I think, inevitably bring on this game.
I've got this one Saturday night, so I was doing some numbers last night. Port at home averaging a tick over 100 points per game. That's at home. Drops down to 70-odd away. So that brings Melbourne into this game. I think Port will win, but by not as far as we're probably predicting.
I think Melbourne's season's done, so they'll check out. Port Adelaide win.
No Stephen May as well.
Yeah, is Gawn going to play? Is your man on the breakfast show, Maxi
I'll
Gawn?
have to ask him on Friday.
Okay.
But he sounded on Monday like
Still
he was going to.
confident? Okay.
Jason Horne-Francis is having some season as well.
Yeah.
For Port Adelaide. Yep. Carlton versus Hawthorn. This is a flip of the coin game, Joey.
Yeah, it is. It is. Flip a coin. I'm going to, like Sydney, give Carlton one more chance to prove that they are the team that we all thought they were 5 weeks ago. Charlie Curnow to kick 4+, Carlton to win.
I'm going to go his big mate Harry to kick 4+, and a Carlton win with absolutely no confidence. Their supporters, oh my goodness, them and the Bombers.
You guys have just summarised my views, Carlton, but no faith.
Speaking of form, though, Patrick Cripps, probably another 3 Brownlow votes against
he
Collingwood last week.
In fact, probably would have. Yeah.
Could be one of the most epic Brownlow medal nights we're going to see. Lockie Neal's a chance to win 3, Cripps for 2, Bont to get his first, Nick Dacos to get the first of God knows how many.
Sarong to poll.
And then Sarong's going to be polling a lot as well.
And maybe Jason Horne-Francis without the competition at Port.
Richmond versus St Kilda, Damien Barrett at the MCG.
I just like St Kilda if you can take out, I know it's hard to take out what they did last week. If you can take that out, their previous 5 weeks was good. I've just got zero faith in tipping Richmond this season, full stop. So for that reason alone, St Kilda.
Yeah, I agree.
St Kilda.
Yep. And finally, Daisy, Adelaide versus the very in-form Western Bulldogs to finish round 22.
Yeah, closer than I think a lot will have this, but Western Bulldogs for me.
In the past, one of the Western Bulldogs tend to drop games after they win a few. Yeah. They've always done it. Uh-oh. Is this a different Western Bulldogs team? We're all saying they are now. People are putting them right up there in premiership calculations, so they should be winning. I'd be disappointed if they don't win this. It'll be the same old Dogs if they get beat.
Yeah. Adelaide just too disappointing in the entirety of 2024 in my eyes. And last week was a good example of that against Geelong. So, no, Western Bulldogs for me.
Well, you can catch every game live on Triple M and the Listener app, starting with the Friday Huddle ahead of Sydney versus Collingwood with Mark Howard, Luke Darcy, Nathan Brown, Jason Dunstall, our very own Damien Barrett on the Midweek Rub as well.